In this video, I'm going to introduce to you how to solve quadratic functions by factoring, but kind of before we start actually factoring, which we'll do on the next page, I want to show you just kind of the parts of the graph, and that will kind of connect why we're going to be solving and why factoring is used to solve and how they kind of relate to the picture of the parabola in general. So at the top here it says the graph of a quadratic function is called a parabola. The shape of it is a U-shaped graph, and you can see a couple examples down here on the paper. And let's talk about the parts of the parabola, because there's different parts to it, and there's a pattern to each parabola. And so before we solve the quadratic equations, let's understand the graph of the function. And a quadratic function is usually written like this, and I'll show you, I'll kind of highlight here where I'm referring to. Y equals a coefficient A for the x squared term, and plus b, a coefficient for your linear term, and plus a number term called a constant. Sometimes you will see it written with, this is called function notation, and so you might see f of x, and that is the same thing as writing y. So those are the same thing, y and f of x. And all quadratic functions equations are also functions. And a function would be a picture where a vertical line would cross through your picture one time only. And so functions specifically pass what is called the vertical line test. So if a vertical line will pass through your equation one time only, then it is called a function. So you can write it in function notation. And the solutions of a quadratic equation are found when the equation is set equal to 0. And so that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to say when our equation is set equal to 0, and that is the same as saying y equals 0. And the solutions are also called other names. So solutions of a quadratic are also called x-intercepts, but there are actually more words than just that. And I'm going to write down all of those words down here at the bottom of my note page. And so solutions can be called many names. One of them is called x-intercepts, which is also said in this sentence here. But some teachers also call them roots, and some teachers call them zeros. So all four words, roots, zeros, x-intercept, solutions, all four of them mean the same thing, and that is specifically where your picture, your quadratic equation, crosses the x-axis. And those are called solutions, roots, zeros, or x-intercepts. So all four of those names refer to the same piece of the graph, and it's where your graph crosses the x-axis. And so that's kind of connecting a couple things on our pictures. And then also, there are other parts of our graph that have patterns and labels. And so I want to talk to you about the vertex. The vertex in your picture is located down here on this picture, and it would be the point where your parabola is at its lowest, or if your parabola is upside down, it would be the point that is at the highest. And so what I'm going to do is label this vertex point here, and that point on my grid is going to be at 1, -4. And the x-intercepts that I already labeled, that I highlighted here, I'm going to label what those 2 points are here. So this point would be -1, 0, because from the origin we went left 1. And this other point here, if we went right 3, that would be at +3, 0. And the y-intercept of our picture, so where it crosses the y-axis, so that's labeled here, would be at 0 and down 3, so -3. And the axis of symmetry and the vertex, those two things have a connection, and the axis of symmetry is an equation, and they share an x value. So it would be here, there's the word axis of symmetry. It is a vertical line that passes exactly through the middle of your parabola. And so it cuts it in half vertically. And it's an equation, it's a vertical line. A vertical line is, in my class, we talk about Hoy and Vux. And Vux represents a vertical line, so it's going to be x equal to a number for the equation of your line. And the x of your vertex and the x of your axis of symmetry should be the same because your axis of symmetry should go through your vertex. And so it will have the same x value as your vertex. Okay, stay tuned. In our next video, we're going to actually start factoring and finding the location of where our parabola will cross our x-axis.